Hey, what's up, guys? My name is Raghu Adibatla, and this is Talking Fun. What's up, guys? This is Raghu Adibatla, and it's Thursday. That means Talking Funny. Sometimes I have guests on other days of the week, but tonight we got a really cool guest. I'm a dad, and this guy's a dad. He is a hilarious guy. Met him while doing some Zoom shows, and he's got his own show. His name is Erin Patrick. He's from the East Coast. We're gonna bring him on right now. Erin.
Oh, hey guys. Thanks for having me.
Hey, thank you for being on, man. I really appreciate you making the time. I really wanted to get to know you and your comedy, and we had a lot of fun doing shows. I had fun doing your show. It was really cool. But before we get into all the cool stuff you're doing right now and your comedy, I want to hear about your journey. When did you start doing comedy? And take us through that.
So in July will be my 2-year anniversary. If you go off of the first time I went to an open mic, which I know different comedians will be like, is it the first time I got paid or first time I did a show? But I'm still new, so I'm going to go with first time I did an open mic. So yeah,
that works.
July 7th, actually, that I think about it. Yep.
Okay. Well, that's awesome, man. Yeah, I count that too. From when I did, because really when you're on stage, you're a comedian. Doesn't matter if it's a mic, if it's anything that, nobody knows. You're just up there. You could be doing it forever. But yeah, that's awesome. And congratulations. You're coming up on 2 years. So you did your first mic. Then how'd you feel about that?
I felt really good. But I did what I'm sure a lot of people did was I practiced that 5-minute set for, I felt like, I don't know, I want to say months probably in my head. And then the weeks leading up to it, it was like every day I was standing in front of the mirror. And then of course, as most people know, when you go to open mic and you know nobody, you go like almost last. So I got there an hour before. I was like number 2 on the list. But this particular mic decided to not go by. They didn't run the list. So like this is all the lingo you don't know in the beginning. So if you're new and you sign up second, you're not going to go second. So, so I got there like an hour before. I think I got there at like 8 o'clock. It started at 9 and I didn't go on until like 12:30 in the morning. So, so it was like a couple of things. I got to see a lot of other comics go. I got to see really good local comics. I got to see really bad local comics. And then, so I enjoyed myself a lot and then got to go.
That's kind of cool though, that you kind of went later. Cause as you said, you get to see all the comics going up. And so already you're like, okay, what to do, what not to do. And you're kind of thinking in your head, like, taking notes and that's awesome, man. I love it. So you did open mics and you just kept doing mics. I know you're a dad. Were you, so you have, how many kids do you have?
I just have one.
You have one kid. So that's cool. So you're doing mics. Tell us about that experience being a dad and starting comedy.
It was definitely a conversation my wife and I had to have. And the biggest sticking point that we came to was that as long as it doesn't affect the time that I am with my son, then my wife was like, go do your thing. She's like, I can right now she's on the couch. I think she's watching 90 Day Fiance right now, which I'm a little jealous because I secretly watch that. I'll be like, she'll be like, do you want me to turn it off? And like, we'll watch something. I'm like, no, just finish 2 or 3 or 4. Are they still together? Like, But
we watched that show too, by the way. We've seen a few of those.
Nice. Yeah. And but no, we talked about it, and so that was the main thing. So which is great about comedy because it's all at night. You barely ever do shows or things during the day. So this, our son goes to bed at 7. We're on the East Coast, so 7 p.m. and then this is at 8. So I had time to get the dishes done, get laundry started, and then prep for this, and then hanging out a little bit. So that was good. And it was just a lot of like, he even tells me, like, if I'm going to go do comedy, I'll be like, all right, but I'm going to go do comedy now. And he's like, good luck with your jokes. And
that's so
like, we taught him, or my wife taught him to tell me to break a leg. So it's cute. It's cute. So, and he has little like knock jokes that he tells. So
cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, your experience is like mine, man. We have 2 kids and they're like, now they know I do comedy. So there's like, now it's all comedy terms and, you know, how old is your son?
He'll be 4 next week.
That's awesome.
Yes.
Oh, cool. He's got a birthday coming up. That's awesome. And I love it when your kids also, like, they know you do comedy, they know what it is, they, you know, and they crack jokes themselves. I love it. Does your now your wife, do you run jokes by her?
Oh yeah, definitely. Before, like, with a lot of the Zoom stuff during the pandemic, I'm doing a lot more like stage time, like open mics and shows. So I won't run them by her as much. Also, we're around each other all the time. So if I can limit the amount of talking that I do, that bodes well for me. So yeah, because I'm a talker, I just start going. But no, in the beginning, especially, I'd be like, hey, what do you think of this joke? And she's like, I'm more left brain and she's more right brain. So like, I get really excited about a bit and she'll literally be like, the middle of that makes no sense. So like, she's like the logical person, which when you're starting out, people are listening to that. Like, I don't have a persona. I don't have I don't have like a theme or a whatever that I can fall back on. So it's in the beginning, it's about the words. And so I feel like that's really helped me. And also I'm a teacher. She used to be a teacher. She still, she works for an ed tech company now. So I think that has really helped a lot as well. Which is the whole, like the writing, like the structural piece of comedy. And also she loves stand-up. Like pretty much Friday nights for us after we put our son to bed is we watch like a new stand-up special on Netflix. So
that's so great. That's so cool. I love it. I love it. Yeah. My wife loves stand-up, you know, and but that's great that, you know, you can have that support system, you know, through this.
It definitely helps. It makes it a lot easier. I know at a lot of the open mics that I go to, so I'm 34, so I was like 32 when I started, but all the mics that I would go to would be like guys in their 20s that are like, they're up there making jokes about like Tinder and dating and like, and like women and all this stuff and everything. And like female comics are doing the same exact thing. Like they're talking about that aspect. And I'm up there, I'm like, my kid and talking about that. And they're all like, I guess it's funny. Sure. Like we can't relate to this at all, but
do you ever do jokes about like before you were married? And do you ever
so I've tried to, and like in the beginning, that's what a lot of my stuff was a lot about, like remembering what it was like growing up. And I tried, like some of my favorite comedians are observational comedians. So I tried to go that route, but and then I started to like drift into blue material because it's so much easier to be blue. I feel like, there's so many comments that it's just low hanging fruit of like, I could write a joke about that, but
true.
That joke's probably been said 1,000 times. So I started at I don't know, about a couple months into the pandemic. I did a show and I thought I did really, really well. And it was a competition and I didn't place in the final 3 out of 10 people. And I was like, I felt real good about my material. I felt good about my presentation. The feedback I got was, you have really great stage presence, but you know, we want to hear better material. And I was like, but the people that won all had material that I don't feel comfortable doing, because I'm a teacher and I don't want that sort of persona to be put out there. And then B, I was like, it just didn't, even the laughs that I was getting, it didn't feel right. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to switch things up. And that's when I started thinking about doing One More Dad Joke, which is my virtual comedy show I do once a month. And so it centers around the theme of like wholesome, just like old school like punny dad jokes. And then I just started writing material about, I was sitting there one day and I was like, what's like something weird about being a dad? And then that day I took my son to the playground and he literally like licked the playground like 3 times. And I was like, I literally said the sentence, if you lick the playground again, we're going home. And I immediately was like, this is a bit. This is it. And then that's probably that's like that was like my first, like my dad joke, like that I came up. I was like, one of the things I hate about being a parent the most is having to say this sentence: if you lick the floor again. And it was like a good thing. And it's not, it's not the greatest joke in the world, but it's that got me in the direction of, let's talk about being a dad. Let's talk about being married. And then when I started doing that more, it just felt more natural. So I'm still everybody always talks about finding your comedic voice. I'm sure you've done the same thing. I've watched like a ton of comedy documentaries. I have like a huge comedy library of books, and they all say the same thing, is like those first 3, 5, 10 years, whatever it is, you're searching for your comedic voice. And I don't know what mine is. If I'm a happy-go-lucky, like dorky dad, or am I just like on stage venting dad? Am I? I don't know. But I know right now, talking about being a dad, talking about being married, talking about having a wife, like that's like my wheelhouse right now. So I'm just I'm leaning into that because it feels right. So.
That's awesome, man. So like right now you're in that phase where you're trying to find out what kind of a dad are you going to be in this comedy? Like, what's your voice? And that's totally fair. Like that's where you're at right now. And we all, went through that. And that's awesome. And I think, dude, I got to applaud you, man. 2 years and you're already got your own show. You're running your own show.
Well,
and
that's the beauty of the pandemic. Exactly. Like, if anybody's out there and you're like, I can't get booked. Exactly. I'm tired of how the hosts handle shows. That was literally it. I was like, I don't want to keep doing shows where all the other comics are doing blue material. And then I stand out because I have clean material. And I try to get, like, I'm doing better now, like getting on clean shows, but like you have to be able to run clean sets to then send to those people. And that if you're, and so, that was just, and then all I've been doing with each show is like, I think to myself, on the shows that I've done, what are the, like, I literally have a list of like, this is what I liked about the host. This is what I liked about the format. This is what I liked about the promotion of the show. And then these are the things I didn't like. And then I just try to emulate the things that I did like little things like, we both done shows at Flappers, and I love how professional they are with like, when you get booked there, they send you like an agreement with all the information. So it's not like you send them, what time is the show again? Am I getting paid? How many sets? What am I in the order? It's everything. Because like other people will be like, oh yeah, I got a show. And I'm like, it's in the email. Everything's there. So like, that's something that I do. And, or like, I like when hosts will send you a recording of your set without even asking. And I'm like, so I try to do that. And it's just all these little things. So it's like, and you can do it. Because if it's live comedy, you need a venue, you need money, you need you need to have a good owner, and you need to have an audience, and also you need to have funny comedians. You got to have professional comedians, and that's so much easier said than done. I said that right. That, but on here, you have free, and also you don't just have to work with the comedians that are around you. So like the comedians around me, they're awesome. There's the Baltimore scene, so I'm from Baltimore. The Baltimore DMV comedy scene is so supportive. It's awesome. Like I've made so many great comedy friends in there. But the beauty of the pandemic and doing something virtually is like you and I.
You're everywhere.
I don't know if we ever we've been on like 2-3 shows together. That never would have happened. Not I don't want to say like hooray for the pandemic, because that's horrible. But like when you find silver linings, like that is a thing that I've like I've done on One More Dad Joke. We had a show where 4 different continents were represented out of 7 comics.
Wow.
Like, where's that going to happen? That's going to happen on AGT or some World Comedy Festival thing. And so you get to meet people and all that stuff. So
And your show also has female comics, which is great. It's
that was
I think dad joke is a concept, right? It's a concept.
So
it doesn't have to be dads.
Originally, I was like, let's just do a dad joke show or like dad joke battles, and I was like, that's been done. I don't want to copy something that's already out there. So the premise of the show is a comic can come on and do 5 minutes of whatever material they want. I tell them it's just as long as it's clean, which for me clean on my show is more PG-13. It's just there's no cussing, so you can literally talk about any material that you want, as long as, again, as it's not cussing. And then at the end of your set, the show even has like a cool chant where we're all here for
Yes,
one
sir.
more dad joke.
Exactly.
And so the audience gets involved and everybody's having a good time.
Yeah.
There's a rhythm to again, these are all things that I've picked up on other ones. But going back to what you said about having the female comics on there, that's another thing that you would see I saw this with live comedy. I saw it when shows started happening during the pandemic. And even now when live comedy's back, is you see so many comedians that are not 25-year-old white guys not getting booked. And you see posts like, well, there's another comedy show with 5 white guys. And hell, oh, guess what? There's another one 2 weeks from now. And it's the same ones. And I know I'm a 34-year-old white guy. I know because I've literally been told, if you're on a show with 4 other white guys, you got to stand out because you can be funny, but how are you going to be remembered when everybody else is 25 to 35 white with glasses and wearing a flannel shirt and a beard because it's the fall?
Exactly.
And so again, when I started booking the show, I said, I was like, you know what? I'm making an effort to make sure that anybody and everybody gets a chance. So if I go on the show and say I'm booking 7 or 8 comics, I will say if I've booked 3 white guys, I was like, I'm going to make sure that I have some female comedians. I have comedians from different backgrounds and ethnicities and all over. And so again, that's the other thing that I love about the show. And I tell people is you could come to the show and you might only love 2 or 3 comics, but you're really going to love them because they're the type of comics you want to see. And because if you go to a comedy show and all the comics are doing the same style, you're and you happen to end up not liking that style, then it's a bad show. But this way, anybody that comes can find something that works for them. And then also get to experience something that maybe they wouldn't normally. I like blue material, so I would never go to a clean comedy show, or vice versa. Now you get an experience, or maybe you have never maybe you don't like female comedians, but you're supporting your buddy who's on the show, and then you have and you sit there and see 3 really good female comedians. It can. So again, that's just my whole thing, and that all just comes from just everything that's happening in the world. I feel like everybody says they want to do something, they want to do their part, and nobody can solve all the problems, but I feel like I'm just trying to do my part. This is me just sound preachy and trying to brag.
No, you're fine, man. I'm totally with you.
It's just I feel like I wanted to do something, and if not booking another white guy on a comedy show is my way of trying to equal things out for other people, that's awesome. So. But that's what it is.
You're doing your part. You're doing your thing, and then everybody loves it. It loves a diverse showcase, you know. And we need more of that. I also tell you're a teacher because you educate yourself when you look at, because you're telling me things I look at other producers or shows and this and that and see what they do and see okay, this is working. That I need to do this, and you're a learner, man. I can tell you adapt. You pick things up, which is, basically that's what teachers do for kids. You make them want to learn, adapt. And I can tell, man, that's awesome. Do your students know you do comedy? Do they know Mr. Patrick, tell us a joke or
I don't think so. I've had a couple. So there is a local show here, again, right at the beginning of the pandemic, called Baltimore Loves Talent. So it was like a local thing where anybody could send in their stuff, and if you got selected, you're on TV, which I was super. So I have a TV credit. It was on ABC's Baltimore Loves Talent, which is really cool. But the one clip, they showed a student from my school, and she was playing the guitar. And I went to school the next day thinking everybody was gonna be nobody said anything. So I was either they didn't pay attention but I think there's a couple people now. And at first I was really I don't want anybody to know because it kind of locks you in a corner of what you can or can't say when you literally, if you say something wrong, you could lose your day job. And but I think they're slowly starting to find out. I'm not going out of my way to tell them, but if they find out, they find out. So
exactly. No, that's great, man. I was reading up on you. You had a little interview in a Comedy Network Live. It was pretty cool. You mentioned a lot of cool stuff. I wanted to talk about one thing, and I want to get right to this real quick because one of the questions was, Something really crazy or outrageous that you've heard or questionable? The moon is not real. What? Who said that?
I was just like weird conspiracy theories. So
Okay.
and that was the first one, and I was like, I've heard the moon landing is not real. Like I've heard that, but then like the moon is not real. And then I started reading about it, and then I fell down one of those YouTube rabbit holes, and I was just no. Like my rational brain couldn't even like, I was just like, no, I can't. And it was just like, that was too crazy to me. Like,
it's a
thing.
You're probably like the flat earthers and the people.
Yeah.
You know, they're probably on there. But you and I have a lot in common. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
We first of all, we're both comics, we're both dads, but our research process is almost the same. Like I have like some comedy books I'm trying to get through, but also I love documentaries. I know you love documentaries. I'm always looking for another one. I've watched a lot of them. I saw Inside Jokes, which you mentioned.
Yes.
I think on there. And so this is part of your creative process, right? Like you're researching.
Mm-hmm.
What do you get? So what do you look for in documentaries? Like when you're watching them, what's the one thing that or few things that you try to find out?
So I really like looking at documentaries where they're talking about the process of how everything works. So there's the I Need You to Kill, which is
that I saw that
Daniel,
one
Tom Segura, and
oh
my goodness, why am I blanking on the other guy's name? He's only like one of the most popular comedians.
Tom Segura is the only one I remember. I always forget the other two.
So like they talk about that, and they're talking about the whole process. Like my favorite bit of that thing of that whole documentary, Tom Segura's go, and they're in Asia, and they're doing these 3 shows to try to promote and build up the stand-up culture, to show the local comedians there, like, this is how you do it as a professional. And Tom Segura, the first show he goes up, and he was just like, I couldn't read the room, like it didn't feel right. And then he was doing new material, and he realized that where the audience was they were like in like late 90s, 2000s type of audience, where the type of humor that hits for them is the type of humor that was like when I was in high school and I was in middle school, stuff like that stand-ups were doing. So he's like, so then I got to do older stuff. So then he's like getting ready for a show, and he's like, I want to do some of my older material, but he couldn't remember it. So he ended up buying his own special on iTunes, listening to it the hour before so he could then do it again. And I'm like,
that's hilarious.
This guy is so big and been doing it so long, he has to buy one of his own albums. So he just gets that money back anyway. And then to deliver the material, and then does it better than he originally did, because he's doing it with, more of like that. To me, just that whole process of like learning about figuring out the audience, reading the room, and realizing that like if you're going to a place, like, so for me, for example, I take from that is if I ever go somewhere outside of like the DMV area, like DC, Maryland, Virginia, and I go to perform, I got to remember that even if I could have the best material in the room, these people don't know me. So like you have to listen carefully to what are they laughing at? What type of audience? Is this an audience that is been trained or prepared for stand-up comedy, or is this just at a random bar that somebody's going to pay me $50 to talk for half an hour? It's all these extra things that you slowly start to pick up, and that's my favorite thing that I get. Like with Inside Jokes, if you have not watched that and you are into comedy, you definitely should, because you see how people will tell you like you have to run your set over and over every night. And you see these people where if you only saw them at, Just for Laughs, and they delivered their 6-minute set there, and you're like, wow, that's amazing. But like, you don't see the months and months and months of them doing that set, and the little tweaks that they do where they change the emphasis on one word, and it will get them 50% more laugh in the middle of their set, which leads to a bigger laugh at the end. Like, those are all the things that I love about this. I say all the time, my favorite thing about stand-up, besides making other people laugh, is the puzzle aspect of like, what's the word that I need to change? What's the word I need to add? All of that stuff. So
that's the one that they focus on, the comics that are trying to get to Just for Laughs. Is that the one? Yeah, I saw that one. Yeah, it was really great. And you're right. You learn a process. You learn and really no matter what, all comedians, right? There is one underlying theme, like a process that you have to do. Like listen to your jokes, listen to where the laughs are, reading the audience, kind of like, all that preparation is the same. The material's different, but the way to get there, there's like certain things that you have to do. And you're doing it, man. You're like, I mean, like, seriously, this is great that you're 2 years in and you've learned so much. And you're like, and I think, a lot of people would say like, this is not a good time to start comedy. Sometimes people have said that, but I think it's a great time because like you're getting a lot of like going back to what we said before, we're meeting so many people all over the country. There's feedback mics. You could never, I would imagine a live, there's a feedback mic ever.
The only feedback you get on a live open mic is the host rips you apart after your set, or they don't. If they don't, it might not be because you're good. It's just because they don't care, or they got to get 3 more comics in and we were supposed to close 15 minutes ago. But if they rip you apart, you're less like, oh, they don't like, I don't know that. Like if you know them, then they're just your friends ripping. But if you don't know the host and the host rips you got to fix something. Like
exactly. People are telling you something for a reason. And I think it's a learning aspect. So basically you started, I guess, in 2019. Like beginning of 20. Yeah. So then, or no, you said July, right?
Yeah, July. Yeah.
So when you're doing comedy, you're going to live shows. So when the pandemic happened, what was that when you kind of I assume you took it well, because you seem like you know what to do. Like what was your mindset? Was like everything just shut down and all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, now what do I do? Because you just started out.
So I left out. Well, okay, so at first I was like heartbroken because I got booked on, there's a local comedy club here in Baltimore called Magoobies, which is like, it's one of the bigger venues in this area for comedy.
Sure.
And I got booked on a show with like 10 local comedians, and I would say I was like the bottom. So it was like local headliner, like everybody knows him is the headliner, the host, everybody knows. Like if you were doing comedy in around the area, you knew probably at least 8 of the 10 people on the show. And for somehow I still don't know, I got booked on it. And I still, like, even up to the week before, I was just like, am I on this? Like, and I am, right? Like, and then the flyers got given to me to like pass out and my pictures on it. And I was still like, it still awesome. Doesn't feel right. But that got canceled. And that was like, so like everything here shut down like March 14th. And that show was March 24th. It was like a week and a half. That Friday, so the Friday before the show, somebody posted on Facebook, hey, since, we're all stuck inside, I'm going to try to do this a Facebook live stand-up show. And if anybody wants time, it'll be an open mic. Come on, it'll be fine. And I was like, sure, I'll try this out.
Sure,
it took us like an hour, and it was horrible. Like an hour to figure out, like at first the person hosting it thought that like they could let people jump in. They didn't realize that like they needed to do all these certain settings. And then eventually it was just like, it was a mess. But from there, that weekend, I just started looking up and I started reading about, there was a comedy club in Delaware. I can't remember what it's called now. But they did like a virtual open mic, and then it just sort of kept going from there. And you just started hearing about, like Displaced Comedians was a big, huge Facebook group that came up and started talking about out there. And it just little by little, I would see messages that would come across either Instagram or Facebook that would be like, hey, we're doing this, or randomly LA that I've done stuff with them. Like they did one of the first ones I did, they did like a 24-hour comedy marathon. And so that's cool. Like a 5-minute set in that, which was cool. And so it just kept going and going. And then one of the things that I learned from a local producer here, his name's Michael Furr. He's the producer and booker for the Lou Casella Room, which is in Camden, north of Baltimore. What he told me was, it doesn't matter. Like you could be the funniest guy, but if you don't promote the shows, if you don't tag the venues, if you don't, if you're not marketing the show, which is his show, which is how he makes his money, why would he have you on the show? So like, I remember that. And that's how I actually got booked on his shows. I was doing 5 minutes on Saturday nights in between improv groups, which so much fun doing stand-up in between improv. Like,
that's true.
Like in the beginning, like for me now, like looking at it now, I'm just like, I know why I got that, because nobody else wanted it. Like nobody wants to do that spot, because you think you have a big audience, but then right before you get up, that audience gets up because they just finished performing, and then the other half is getting ready to perform after you. So you're just performing for like your 3 friends. But anyway, so like I said, I took that from him, and so like I'm sure you've seen, or if anybody follows me on like social media on Facebook or Instagram at Erin Patrick Comedy, that I'm constantly, if I'm on a show or doing something, I'm trying to promote it as much as possible, because it's I want to get people to see where they can see me, but also I want them to see the other people, because if I, like, for example, your show, like I want people to know about you because I like what you're doing. And I think there's people that even if they don't like me, I know there's people that would like you, and it's vice versa. Like when you're when you're promoting and tag me, that's going to help me. So it's like we're helping each other. And there are, I would never put any comedian on blast or say names, but there are plenty of comedians that don't do that at all. And some of them have material that can withstand that, and you don't need that. But like I said, I'm still new at this, so I'm still. I'm playing that part of the game, the business aspect of like, I'm trying to be professional. And with all of that, that's where a lot of opportunities for myself. Like I'm sure every comedian at some point in time in their career or whatever it is, I can't say career because it's not a career yet, but at some point in time, you have that imposter syndrome or whatever it is, syndrome, imposter syndrome, where it's like, how am I on the show? Like why? Like, I don't feel like I'm making this show better, but it's like, and you think back and you're like, you deserve to be here because of what you did. So if anybody is watching this comedian, I would definitely, if you feel like you're not getting booked, like be professional about it. Act like you are a big shot, and just not in a big shot of like in that bad way, but in a good way of like, be your own publicist. Like, okay, now when I'm trying to get booked, I'm my publicist. I'm my secretary. And then when it comes time to perform, then you're the performer. So, but yeah, sorry. I'm a rambler. I just keep going.
No worries. Dude, no worries. I love hearing all this, man. I mean, this is great. Like you're, like I said, you're still, 2 years and you've got everything right. And I think at some point it's just going to shoot even faster. Like you're just going to, and you're absolutely correct. You have to promote shows. Like whatever you're on, because they booked you for a reason, and they also booked you knowing that we want people to come to the shows. They want people to come. They want their name out there. Hey, I have this show, and you're on it. So of course, you got to give back. And they put you on there for a reason. They thought you were funny. Said this guy needs to be on this show. So and I'm like you, man. I mean, like no show is no big or too small. Like, get out there. It doesn't matter. They're giving you 5 minutes. You do 5 minutes. You do the best 5 minutes you can do. They give you 3 minutes. You do 3 minutes, because like all this is adding up. It's like a bank. You're putting it all. This is all like money that's being stored. And
you also have no idea. Have no idea who's watching, because what I've gone like on shows that I've done at like Flappers or just other mics that I've been on. As I'm watching, like I'll write down every comic's name, and then I always try to message them just to be like, "Hey, it was fun working with you. Hope we work together again." So like to make that personal connection. And then I also make sure that like if I actually like their comedy, I'll tell them like, "Hey, I really like the bit that you did about this," because it's so easy just to be like, "Hey, how are you?" And then it's like I want them to know that like I legitimately liked you. And then I'm always looking for comedians for my shows. So like I might not have a spot for like 3 months, and I may message them like, "Hey, do you want to do my show in June?" And they're like, sometimes they're like, "Yeah, sure," and other times they're like, "That's too far out," or "I'll get back to you." But it's like I'm constantly, because I have my show and I don't know who I'm on the show with, if they have their, because I've been booked on like with Rachel Kaplan. She does a great show, Glass Houses, out of New York. That's an awesome show. Awesome show. And then Kelly Zimnikas. If you have not seen her on social media, you definitely should. She is amazing. Like I'm doing her show in April, at the end of April. And that came from, I saw her on a show, asked her to do my show. She came to my show, then asked me to do hers. Like all of this, it's just that's how you go. And so when you're sitting there looking at some people and you're like, how is this person getting booked on all these shows? It's like, ask them,
You
like,
got to get out
how are
there.
you
You
doing
got
it?
to
And it's
ask them.
probably, they're promoting the show. They're contacting the producer. They're if the comment call is a half an hour before the start time, they show up a half an hour before the start time. They don't show up 2 minutes before.
They're looking at all that. You're right. Yeah. They're looking at all of that. Because like, hey, when we set call times this time,
like if you're doing virtual comedy, you have so many more options for comics. Right. Like I literally can book anyone. So if you give me a reason not to book you, and I only have, let's say, 7 to 10 spots a month, that's 100, around 100 spots a year. Like, like I'm not going to have you come back if you are going to make it difficult for me, because I don't want this to be difficult. I want it to be fun. I don't want to be like, oh, I got to put a thing together again. It's like, no, I want to put it together. Yeah. So,
Yep. Has comedy, impacted you in any way, like your life, and like any way changed you?
It definitely changed the way that I look at things now. From watching documentaries, it changes. Okay, so first it changes the way that I watch stand up now. So before, so my all-time favorite comedian is Brian Regan. And I've listened to the album. I have it on the wall.
Yeah. He's got to be your idol, man, because that guy's like the king of and I think he's great.
I saw him in high school when he was touring here in Baltimore, and it was like a small club, and we got to sit like right next to stage, and I like died laughing. But it's like I watched that just for the joy of it. But now when I watch it, I'll watch I'll watch a special twice. Like I watch it with my wife for the laughs. And then I'll go back a couple days later and watch it again to like, how many times, like, how did that callback they did on their final joke? At what point in their hour did they start that? How many times did they call
That's
it back?
Awesome.
Are they doing the rule of three, like the straight left turn? Like how many times did they do that? And like, and again, you start to see the formula of what could work for different stuff. And again, it's not going to just be, it's a formula in a sense that these are the pieces. You have to figure out what's going to work for you, because you could deliver the same material and get no laughs because of how you delivered it. But it's when you read about like, okay, you should practice, doing callbacks or how to do the rule of three or, satire or whatever it is. And like you're practicing it. But then when you see top level, like world touring professional comedians doing those same things and those types of jokes, you're like, oh yeah, those are bread and butter things for a reason. They've been around forever and they work for a reason. So yeah, but and along with changing how I watch comedy, it changes how I see the world, because whenever something random happens, my brain goes immediately to that's a bit. And so what I used to do, I had a running Google Doc that was just random thoughts, but it's so long and I can't even navigate it now. And then I was just like, I'm going to write everything down. So I kept a notebook with me, but then my pencil would break, my pen would run out of ink. So what I do now is I text myself. So like I'll text myself. Like the other day I was driving down the road and there was a sign. It was like boats for sale under $30,000. And I was like, that solved all my problems. I was having a horrible day, but guys, boats are under $30,000 now. Isn't that all? And so I did. And then that was my video I posted on TikTok and my Instagram reel.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw that one.
So it's like, that's how it changes now. And what I'm constantly doing is when I'm with my son and something silly happens, I'm like telling myself like, oh my goodness, like I'm going to talk about this in an open mic on Thursday. Like that's what I'm going to do. But I will say one thing that has actually changed for me with that is I was listening to Mike Birbiglia's podcast. And he had Pete Holmes on, who is I would say it's like Brian Regan, Pete Holmes, Steve Martin. Like that's my bread and butter. So not much diversity in my bread and butter, but it's white bread. So, but he was on there talking, and Mike Birbiglia was saying how he would have a thought and write it down and then come back to it later. And Pete Holmes said, no. What I do is I have a thought. I don't write it down, because if it's funny enough and it's good enough, my brain will bring it back up again another time. So when he has that thought at another time, that's when he writes it down, because that's his brain, which is wired for comedy is telling him, hey, idiot, don't forget this, right? Because right now you think every funny thought you have, you're like, oh, that was hilarious, I'm gonna write it down. And then you read it later and you're like, shoes that don't match should be a thing. You're like, what was that? Because you're writing it real quick and you don't get the whole thought out. And so that's something that I'm going to try to start doing now. It's going to be a little hard because I'm so used to just taking my phone, send a text to myself real quick. And, but yeah. So again, that's kind of how comedy has sort of changed things.
Well, I mean, that it might, because here's the thing, like maybe if you text yourself, maybe that's something that works for you, you know? But yeah, definitely try it. See what happens. Because like, I mean, these guys are big for a reason. Like they're, pedo. Have you ever watched his thing? What was it called? Crashing, I think.
Yeah.
Seen that?
Yeah.
That's just so good, isn't it?
I think I've seen it like 3 times.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, it was one time with my wife for fun. The second time I was like, what, like the episode that he did about barking outside of the club. I didn't know what barking was. And so, but then literally it was hilarious because I watched it for the second time and then I got booked on that show that I was telling you about earlier by the producer and booker, Michael Furr here in Baltimore. And he was like, if you get here before, you can help us hand out flyers outside the door. So that's hilarious. Like, oh my goodness, I'm going to bark. This is amazing, which I'm sure, I even said to him, like, I'm sure at some point in my career, I'm going to be like, you want me to bark? Like, come on now. Like, seriously? Seriously? But like now I was just like, I'm trying to soak up every experience I have. But this was the coolest part of it was I was outside and I had a rhythm, but I from the show, he's like, you got to flick the wrist. You got to flick the wrist. And like, you got to have a quick, concise saying that like rhymes. It catches their opinion and you sound energetic, even when you don't want to be. You can be in the middle of conversation and you already know what to say because it's just rhythmic. Like you're like, bam, bam. And I did that. And that show, which is normally half full, they had to turn people away because it was standing room only.
Wow.
And I don't know if it's because I got people to come, but I'm pretty sure at least a handful of the people that came to that show came because I was out there doing that. And then I got paid a little extra, and the little extra at that point in time made it the most amount of money I'd ever been paid to do comedy. So it's like awesome. All these little things. So like I'm watching, I'm trying to learn, and then
great.
Got to use it. And it was like literally like a 3-day experience. And I remember reflecting the next morning, I'm sitting there and I was like, this was just so cool. Like I went from watching one of my favorite comedians talk about it in the show, learning it, doing it.
Doing it.
Yeah.
That's funny, man. That's great. What an experience. I mean, what a coincidence. I mean, that's so cool. And you were good at it because you got a great personality, dude. I can tell you in your content, like what you put out there. I mean, you love to dance. I know I read about
that about
you. You love doing that. That's cool, man. What are your goals? What are your future goals? Like, where do you see yourself as a comic in the years to come?
So I told my wife, I said, I know ultimately one day I would love to like travel the country and use comedy to allow me to do that. But I know realistically, that's probably not in the cards for me in the near future, just because of my son. And so the school that I work at is a private school, and my son's able to go to the boys. So I teach at an all-girls school, and he goes to he'll be going to the boys, our brother's school, and he gets to go there because of how it's. So it's like he's going to get a stellar education because of where I am. Yeah. So it's not, I can't like, oh my goodness, I got the call, I'm going to quit my job and start. So I know that isn't in the near future. It could, depending on whatever happens in the next 5 years. But right now, my goal is to just, again, try to get as many experiences as I can. My goal for myself, my 2 goals for myself this year are to host the One More Dad Joke, which is a virtual show, to host it live. And I'm getting really close to that. There's a group of, there's 2 producers that do some shows here locally. And actually, ironically, we were messaging today back and forth about, hey, we didn't forget about you. It's just a matter of when stuff opens up. And then my other goal is then to perform in a state other than Virginia, DC, or Maryland, which there's Delaware, there's New Jersey, like Pennsylvania, but like I'm trying to keep it realistic, but also to push myself a little bit. But ultimately my big goal is to get to the point to where I can open for some
Yeah.
of like my comedic idols. Like
Nice.
one of the guys that was on One More Dad Joke, his name's Chris Lawrence.
Yep.
He's a really, really funny dad comedian as well. And he was scheduled to open for and host Brian Regan here at
Wow.
Magoobies, that show that,
So
that
cool.
I was at. It got
Yeah,
canceled,
yeah.
again, and I think it's in
Yeah,
July
yeah.
now. And I think he's
Okay.
still slated to open for like to host the show. But it's like,
yeah.
so like when I see that, I'm like, it's possible. And
Yeah,
but it's like,
of course.
I gotta build myself up. And I know some
Right.
people are like, I want to have a show, or I want to try, you know, I want to be the best comedian ever, and I want to be a headliner, I want to be on Netflix. For me right now, it's just I love all aspects of it. There's nothing about stand-up that I don't mind. Like I even am still at the point where like it doesn't bother me if I show up at 9 and don't go on until 1 at an open mic, because I genuinely love comedy. Yes, it's tiring. I would much rather go earlier and get home, but that's where I met a lot of the other comics, because the ones that are going on at 1, 12:30, 12 o'clock, they're going through the same thing I am, but they're just been doing it a little bit longer and all that stuff. So, so
it's awesome, dude. No, seriously. I love it. I was gonna say something and it just flew out of my head. That's okay. Oh yeah, this is what I was gonna say about because you were mentioning like you focus on your passion, you love doing comedy. I think that's a key thing. I think because I've seen comics get caught up with, when am I gonna get a paid gig? When am I gonna get, how do you get a Netflix special? It's like, who cares? Like, don't worry about all that. Like, don't worry about, because you follow your passion, you follow your,
I was, or at least if that is your goal, because I know some like there's a comic here that his goal was to get like to be on those streaming services, and it's like,
that's
what are you
fine.
doing? Do you think you're gonna be an open micer at 1 a.m. and somebody's gonna walk in and hand it to you? Like there are stories of how that stuff happens, but it's like there were a lot of dominoes that happened like before that. You can't just expect, because that's the other thing that I learned from, again, go back to Michael Furr, the producer here at Sismos, is like nobody's gonna hand you anything. Like you have to show that you want to do this. Occasionally, if you're really funny, people will come up to you and be like, hey, I'll give you this opportunity. But if you're not professional, if you don't bring the funny that time, if you don't do the things you need to do, people aren't just going to keep giving you, like, it doesn't, the one thing that I've learned probably is the thing that I take the most from this is you don't have to be the funniest guy in the room. It helps. And it can lead to more things if you are the funniest guy in the room. But I feel like just being funny can only take you so far, because even if you do get that Netflix special, you got to keep doing stuff after that. Otherwise people are going to be like, you only have one special. Like, what are you doing? Like, cause that's what, Taylor Tomlinson, she has the Midlife Crisis on Netflix, which is hilarious. I love it. But I'm listening to her on Mike Birbigli's podcast, and she's talking about like when that came out, immediately after, she's starting to like, I'm now going to prepare for the next one. And sometimes that can be 6 months. Sometimes that could be a year, whatever it is. But it's like, and then even when she's preparing for the one that's coming out now, she's already thinking about like, well, this is what this one's going to be about. So when I get these ideas, I'm putting them in a notebook. So when this one's done, I can start working on that. And it's like, that's the mentality you have to have, is you're constantly pushing. So if that is your goal, so for me, my goal is to try to get as many experiences as I can. So I'm constantly messaging people. I'm constantly checking out different things. And it's like, because that's what I want to do. So
Exactly. And so your Instagram's right there at Erin Patrick Comedy. Everybody out there, check it out, because it's hilarious. You put like a lot of cool TikTok videos out there. Love it. Dad on TikTok. That's amazing, man. Anything you want to plug? Anything coming up in the near this month or next month? You mentioned a show in April, right?
So I'm doing a couple in April. I have a couple more this month. So one thing I have this Saturday. So this is Thursday. So it's Saturday the 20th. Again, talking about taking those chances. I'm doing I don't know if you're familiar with Match Game. Where you have like a panel of people and you have two guests, and the host will ask a question and just like a fill in the blank. And each of the people in the panel will write down their answer. The guest each writes. And if you match the panel people, and so the idea behind the one that I'm actually on one, it's like an improv game where I'm a character. And so I'll be like on a panel, like 7 or 8 other people, and then there'll be 2 guests, and they'll get questions given to us. Like, and then, so I and my character will write down what I think the answer is. And then so it's like a fun, just improv game. And I have no improv training whatsoever, but I did one of these at Christmas time where my character was the guy super obsessed with his Christmas lights. And so like, it was perfect because I was I had just finished my Christmas lights that day. So all my material, was like all about that.
Things worked out perfectly for you.
It was great.
Like everything just lands into place.
Yeah, and then so what I'm doing on Saturday is, if you are familiar with my all-time favorite funny person, he was literally a hero of mine growing up, is Chris Farley. So it's Chris Farley, host of the Chris Farley Show from Saturday Night Live. So that will be my character, which was weird that I'm not hosting the show, but the host will be talking with me. So I've been watching a lot of his clips to kind of get in character. But again, it's just trying something different.
So this Saturday, what time is it at? And
that is at 9 p.m. It is through
Eastern. 9 p.m. Eastern.
Yes,
right?
sorry, Taz. Yes, 9 p.m. Eastern.
Okay, cool.
I have it on my Facebook page. I'll have it on my Instagram as well. But it's through a local company here in Baltimore called High Wire Improv. They do improv shows every night of the week. So if you just love comedy, definitely check them out. You'll see a lot of familiar faces if you've ever seen them, or if you check them out before my show. It's people that are constantly doing this. It's not just people like me who are just trying their hand at this. It's people that I would say are as professional as you could possibly be in a pandemic without, a live full-time show. But yeah, they put on some great shows.
Awesome, man. So that's a Saturday. You got shows in April. So everybody go.
And one more dad joke, April 16th. Friday, April 16th. That'll be the next one more dad joke. One more dad joke.
It's hilarious, guys. You got to check it out. I love the end of it. One more dad joke.
Yep.
That's the chant. All right. Erin, I got one thing I'm going to do. I do this at the end of my show. It's called Ragu's Hot Sauce Seat. It's a bunch of random questions, and I've heard a lot of crazy answers, and I can't wait to hear yours. So you ready? It's just sort of random fun questions, okay? All right. Number 1, name something you can do with a pencil besides write with it.
Name something. I have a pencil behind me.
Hey, he's got a prop, you guys. He's got a prop. I love it. Love it when people bring the prop.
Is it rubber? Is it rubber?
Yes.
Is it rubber?
Yes. Nice. Awesome. Number 2, if there was a movie made about you, who would you want playing you?
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Why am I blanking on his name? Not Michael Scott. Oh my goodness.
Michael Scott.
Michael Scott. He's literally on my wall right behind me. The Michael Scott quote. And
my God! Now I'm Steve Carell, right?
There you go. Thank you,
Steve Carell. Nice. That guy's hilarious. I know you're a big Office fan too. I think you mentioned that.
Yes, definitely
in your interview. Yeah. What items would you buy at a store to make the cashier really uncomfortable? What you purchased.
So I'm going to borrow this from a buddy of mine. This is a post he put on Facebook. He likes to do this from time to time, and he bought his wife's tampons as well as fresh asparagus. So that's like his, whenever he has to go out and pick up things for his wife, that's what he always would do. So yeah.
Fresh asparagus. I don't even know what that is going to be used for, but
I don't know. There you go.
Great. Maybe some sort of a trick to end this all for women. This is not going to happen anymore, ladies. You use asparagus. All right. All right, here we go. What would, if you wrote an autobiography, what would it be called? What's the title of it?
Oh my goodness. I just keep talking until my wife tells me to stop. I think that would be
I love it. Yeah, that's a cool title. I think every husband and dad you're gonna get that whole market, man.
Yep. There you go.
And anybody who wants to get married is going. I gotta read this first.
Yeah.
Like,
speaking of marriage, my wife got me for our anniversary one year. She got. I don't know if you're familiar with the playbook from How I Met Your Mother with Barney Stinson. I don't know. It's basically a guide for how to pick up women with your bros.
Oh yeah, yes.
And so I was like, I think I might
like a black book, right, or something like that.
Yeah. And I was like, I think I might be the only guy in history that received a contingency plan from his wife on his anniversary. So I was like, are you trying to tell me? So she's like, no, it's from the show. I don't even know. So
one of my friends bought that. I think we tried one of those, and it just at that point it was like, I think it's the way I look. I don't think this book's gonna help me. But all right, here we go. Okay, you're on a raft or a boat, whichever. You have a baby, a nun, and an old man with you, but there's only room for 3 of you. So one of them has got to go: the baby, the nun, or the old man.
The old man. It's women and children first, right?
Hey, there you go.
Wait, no, should I jump off myself and let them all?
I don't know. Some people wanted to jump off themselves because they thought they were good swimmers.
The old guy, he's lived his life. He's fine.
There you go.
That's what he would have wanted us to do.
I love it. I love it. And I like the women and children thing too. That's the Titanic thing.
Of course.
It's pretty cool. All right, here we go. What if here's a cool one. And what advice would you give someone? One piece of advice, and they told you, I want to start doing stand-up comedy. What's the one piece of advice you would give them?
So everybody always says to just do it, which I think that's a great piece of advice. But I think the better piece of advice is to watch an open mic. When things open up, go to an open mic, because if anything that the number one thing you will get from that is, okay, I can do this, because you are not going to go to an open mic and get blown away by there's at least going to be one person that you're going to go, I'm funnier than that. That guy didn't even tell a joke. Like, and you're going to be like, okay, I can do this. So yeah.
Nice. That's a great piece of advice. I've heard that a few times, and it's it's brilliant, because like, go watch comedy, go do it. And it's better live, go watch live, and check it out, because you'll know how to hold the mic. When things open up, it's great. Between invisibility and flying, what would you rather be able to do?
Invisible, because then I could just fly for free.
There you go.
Yeah, and if I have to worry about the pandemic, I have to worry about people and be like, is that guy fine? We should date that guy. We should got him. We should bring him down, and then it would be a thing. But if I'm invisible, what are you gonna do? You can't say. You don't know. So
exactly. Awesome. I love it. Love it. All right, here we go. Any comic, dead or alive, who would you want to meet? I feel like I know who you're gonna say, but I don't know.
Honestly, I want to say Steve Martin.
Okay.
I think I'm going to go with Steve Martin. I know
that guy's cool.
I think his persona and his feelings towards stand-up has probably changed over the years, because he got to that point where he was like, I'm done. I can't take it anymore. And so I think that's the part that I want to meet and talk to him about. Like, what made you get to that point? Because I don't want to be like, I don't want to get to the point where I got, Grammys and, and all these awards and sold millions of albums. I don't want to get there. No, it's like, I want to make sure, because when I've read his stuff, he would talk about on the way up, there were things that were already starting to crack in the foundation of like, one dude. But I love this, and I don't ever want to get to the point where I don't. And so I think that's what I would want to talk about, is what got you there. So yeah.
Awesome. And you read his book, Born Standing Up, I think that's what it's called.
Yes.
I started at Disneyland, which
Wild and Crazy.
Oh yeah, I see that. Yeah, that's awesome.
The bunny ears, and the book too. That book was
phenomenal.
I fantasize so much about what it would have been like when he talks about like, oh yeah, I got to do this gig at this show, and it was just it's not even a stand-up place. It's just random performers, and it's like, I feel like that stuff doesn't exist anywhere near me now. And it's just the idea of like, when you're doing it, when there's nobody else doing it. Because now I feel like everybody can be a stand-up now.
Right.
And there's so many
comics now.
Yeah, especially if you talk to older comics that have been doing it for a while. They'll especially in Baltimore, they're like, man, when I was coming up, there was one place and it was only open on Saturday, and they were only running for 2 hours. And you're like, how did you learn how to do this? Where I
Yeah.
literally, there was a Tuesday night. It was the week before everything shut down. There was a Tuesday night where there were 7 open mics happening at the same time. And there was a handful of us that were like, who can hit all of them? And only one comic did it. It was, her name's Maria Sanchez. She went around and hit every single one. But it was like,
God.
And that night I remember talking to another comic. He was just like, I'm done. Crazy. Like, what? Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Oh man. Last question. Ragu or Prego?
No, Ragu.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, you my man. Yeah. Few people pick
your wife can hear me right now.
Yeah, a lot of people pick other stuff. They were like, "Oh, I cook my own pasta." I'm like, "Get out of here, Ragu."
I legitimately, I can go grab a jar of it right now if you need me to. But
you probably could, man. Oh man. Hey, Erin, listen, this has been wonderful. I had a blast. I hope you had fun.
Oh
yeah. Thank you for being on. At Erin Patrick Comedy, go check it out. He's got a lot of cool videos on there, bits, and your show's coming up. You can find them all on your Facebook page and Instagram. Erin, it's been a blast. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you for having me.
You have a great night. Say hi to your family for me. I feel like I know them now.
You figured out how to get online. Hi, Mom. There
you go. Will do. All right, later, Erin. Have a good night, man. Bye. That was Erin Patrick, you guys. Oh, my God. Hilarious guy. I love it. And he's a dad like me and like other dads. I think a lot of dads should watch this, and hey, you're married, you got a family, you can still be a stand-up comic, all right? Nothing's going to stop you. He's got a lot of great advice. So fun. Next week, my guest is Rajiv Satyal, a very good friend of mine in comedy. Met him many years ago, and this guy just blew up. He's, my God, he has open for you name him, you or her, he's open for him. We're gonna talk to him next Friday. That's March 26th. Rajiv Satyal will be on, and this has been Talking Funny. Thank you guys for watching. My name is Raghu Adibatla. You guys have a great night.